Hey, Donnie, hope you're doing well. Hey, even in a 60-game schedule, this sport can obviously be both mentally and physically exhausting. Considering everything that you guys have dealt with as a team in these first couple of weeks, do you worry that the mental aspect of it now may be the greater challenge versus the physical aspect of the game? And if so, how do you keep the team in a good frame of mind?
I think from the beginning, Jessica, that we've talked about this, that the mental part was going to be bigger than the physical from the very beginning. Just dealing with everything that you're going to have to deal with all the testing and no fans and just different situations. That was going to be the biggest challenge, and being able to jump that hurdle was going to be important for us. And as far as like the club, we just make sure we stayed on calls, getting their feelings on, how they were feeling, what was going on, make sure we were talking and allowing amongst our, our coaches and our players, and make sure that not only were we hearing them loud and clear, but they had to hear, be able to hear us also.
All right, we'll go to Jordan McPherson.
Yeah. Hey, Donnie. Can you just walk us through what the last week was like? I mean, being basically in your hotel room, trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen next, trying to figure out ways, if there were any, to make sure the players were staying ready for whenever games would happen. Just how did the week unfold from that standpoint for you?
Yeah, it was a frustrating week because it continued to change, and we had to kind of stay. It kept changing. We were going to go home one day, and then we were going to, next thing you know, we're going to Baltimore this day, and then it was Baltimore, days later, and we were going to stay different days. So that kind of continued to change, and I think information was coming kind of slowly. We didn't, it kept changing, so there wasn't really anything to give to guys, and so they're just kind of in their rooms not knowing, and that's probably the hardest part. Obviously, physically, it was tough to try to keep guys as moving as best they could, right? Trying to exercise in the room, trying to, keep the body moving some way, somehow. So we didn't, so we had the least amount of risk of injury once we got back. That's kind of your biggest fear trying to get back is injury. And guys not throwing, guys not running, and all of a sudden you're going to try to get them to compete at a major league level. And so that was kind of like our biggest concerns, along with, just dealing with everything, dealing with, 18 guys being down, what's going on with their families and them. And those guys were there in Philly too, so they were on calls also. So we were hearing from them and seeing them every day, or not every day, but every day or so. And so there was still contact, and guys were still talking. So that's kind of how we dealt with it. I think it was a frustrating time for our guys because, and I know Derek talked about a lot of the rumors that just weren't true. And, obviously Derek talked about it, that we got to be better in tightening up our protocols, just being better at it. But I think it was frustrating for our guys to listen to, just all these things being said that we were doing that just weren't happening. Right. And that's another thing, I think, as far as our group. I mean, from the beginning, we've talked about how serious this was, not only for them, for their families, for their kids, going back home. So we all had that responsibility to each other. We felt like we were good in Miami, obviously doing really well. No positive test after intake in a city that was, one of the fastest growing at the time. So guys, you felt like they were doing the right thing. You felt like we were doing the right thing at the ballpark. And quite honestly, we probably weren't doing it as good as we should have, right? We weren't being as good as we should have, but I don't think there was any recklessness into what we were doing. And that's what I think has been the most frustrating for our players, is that fact that there's so much stuff that was written and said that just wasn't true. And that's tough because you don't have a voice at that point. And now we're seeing other teams, it's happening. It happens so fast. that is just incredible. And I think it's a good message for the rest of the league that this thing comes, and when it comes, it just flies. And we see it all over the country and all over the world. That's why it's, the country's in the situation that it's in. But obviously we're seeing that firsthand. And, I think our talk at this point is we got to be better. We got to be perfect. We know the spotlight's going to be on us in this whole thing. And fair or unfair, it's just the way it is. But I think the biggest part of the frustration was just all the untruths that were out there. And that was tough on our guys to be able to have to take that.
Okay, Joe Frisaro.
Hey, Don. First and foremost, I hope you and everyone is doing well physically and mentally. Obviously, very tough times. Talking about now, we know baseball's hard enough to play without distraction. Your guys have been faced with an immense amount of distraction. You got to flip the switch and resume the season tomorrow. First of all, that process of making sure guys kind of reacclimate to playing, as well as I know your job as manager is to, field the team, put guys there. But are you going to have people to kind of help with the dugout, make sure the distancing, make sure all the protocols, make sure the masks, make sure the high-fiving, all that stuff is in line? How you guys kind of want to manage the dugout as well as manage the game?
Yeah, it's situation, and we had a call earlier, and Mike just outlined the even stricter protocols, and I think just emphasize that we need to be better, and so we have to, social distance and everything that you can possibly do. We just have to do it, and within that, we know we've seen the country. It's not always your fault, and that's one of the things I think is a little bit troubling throughout baseball is that a guy gets COVID and it's his fault, right? And not necessarily true, right? You feel like you're following them. Obviously, we're not following them good enough, and we got to be better and try to limit as much as we possibly can. So that's what we'll be working on and trying to do. Again, Mike said it, Derek said it, within our whole party of anybody that travels with us, anybody that's with us, at the hotel, anywhere else. So obviously, we weren't as good as we could have been. But I've watched games during this, and I see it every day. We just see what's happening. So we got to take care of ourselves, and hopefully this is a little bit of a lesson to the rest of the league how dangerous it is.
Okay, we'll go to Craig Mish.
Hi, Donnie. Looking back on it, and I know that now it's interesting that you said that a lot of the other teams, you're noticing some of the same things. I was going to ask you if you thought, as you were enduring this and going to Atlanta, if you at any point on the plane or in Atlanta thought to yourself, I wonder if we shouldn't be doing this or we shouldn't be doing that. And if you don't feel that way, Donnie, do you just kind of feel like the club was unlucky because of this?
No, I can't. I don't think that we were unlucky. Obviously, we got to be better at limiting. Anybody could get it at any time. We don't know where it started, what happened, what went down with any of it. So we really don't know that, and we're not going to know that. But I think our biggest thing is to look, internally, look at yourself, just as you would as a player, and in a situation where you're worried about your performance, look in the mirror first. I think we have to look in our mirror over all of this protocol and making sure that we're following it to the letter of the law and what they're wanting you to do. And so you can't say unlucky. You have to take the blame for what's happened to us. Obviously, and going on the road, you felt good. It definitely felt different when we left Miami, and I said that publicly, that you felt better in Miami than as soon as I got on the bus. It just wasn't the same, right? You were all of a sudden you're going to be outside of your little bubble of going to the ballpark, going to your house, doing whatever. Had your own little contacts there in Miami to take care of yourself, and now we're at the mercy of not only taking care of ourselves, which is our fault, but now you're on a bus and you're on a plane and you're in a hotel and you're at a ballpark and you're on another plane, and you're on another bus. So all that stuff that's going on is where that you're hoping and counting on that the protocols protect you. And that's where our part of the blame, I think, stands, is that we got to be better at that, right? I know we weren't haphazard. I know we talked about this seriously as an organization. Derek, from the beginning, I mean, he shuts down Jupiter as fast as he could after spring training. Every conversation we've had with the players, it's been a conversation about we have to continue to follow the protocols and do the things to protect each other as a family, right? And seriously, we look at our club, and I know our players look at it as like we are a family, right? And beyond that, then baseball is a family, right? You don't want this happening to anyone else, right? To see what's going on in different places now, you feel for those guys because you know what's going on now. So this family just extends into your community and extends into the country, and so it's hard to see it happen.
Okay, next we'll go to Dave Hyde.
Yeah. Hi, Don. Just curious, everybody in society is worried about getting this. You guys have gone through this now. Your comfort going back now, you're still on the road. You're going to be on the road for a while, which you're responsible for, not just for yourself, obviously, but for the team. What's your comfort right now as far as moving forward, staying healthy?
The way I've looked at it, it's like, I'm not afraid of it, but I don't want to get it, right? So I want to be careful for myself. And when I say for myself, I say for me, and then I say for my coaches, and I say for the players, and then I say for the players' families. We don't want to have to test this thing, right? Our players that have had this have been pretty mild symptoms, maybe for a day, and then pop out of it. Other guys have been asymptomatic. So it hasn't really been a dangerous thing, but we also know in this country, it can be a very dangerous thing. So again, not afraid of it, but I want to respect it. And I want our players to respect it for lots of different reasons. So so going forward, I guess I'm comfortable. But again, just want to respect the virus and what it's caused and the damage it's caused to people all over this country and all over the world.
Steve Wine.
Don, you're coming out of an unprecedented Gesundheit. You're coming out of an unprecedented disruption here. Uncharted waters, as this whole thing has been. What is your biggest concern going forward? With all this, as far as playing baseball, functioning as a baseball team, all this roster turnover, so many moving parts now, and the threat of the virus, what's your biggest concern?
Well, the first thing is players' health, right? The danger of how do we, get these guys back acclimated and moving again in a healthy way and take care of them on the field and try to prevent injuries in any way we can. So that's my main fear coming back after sitting in a hotel for a week. But now we've had a couple of workouts at least. We'll be able to work out before the game tomorrow and again, continue to move. I think it's good for everybody's body to keep moving. So that part is number one. Obviously, we're going to have a pretty good roster turnover here. Some of the guys I've never met and still at this point have not met, text with, but not met. Other guys that we're comfortable with that we know are coming, that we've been part of our summer camp and actually our spring also. So, parts of it are comfortable from that point. I trust that we're going to be competitive. I know our guys. I can hear it and feel it in their tone. This is a great group that we have. Obviously missing a lot of that group and some different guys coming into that even outside of our organization. So that will be a little bit of a learning curve, I think, for all of us. But I think a pretty confident group in their own talent and seem to be, motivated and wanting to play to to basically, just go. We have only one voice, and that's to play good on the field and to win. So through all this, I think we'd like our story to be that we persevered this, learn from it and move forward.
Okay, next up is Andy Slater.
Hey, Don, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I guess no matter how many protocols anybody follows, there's always a possibility of getting sick. I'm curious because Major League Baseball lets you guys play on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you guys knew on Friday morning that there was someone positive on the team from a test taken on Wednesday. So given that Major League Baseball lets you guys play and be together in the clubhouse the entire weekend and the dugout together, why are you as a team taking some of the blame?
I think we have to because we weren't perfect, right? We weren't, I think we felt like we were being good at it. We were in Miami for 3 weeks. We didn't have one positive. So I think we felt like we were being good at it. Obviously, we weren't being good enough. And then we got, hit in a big way. As far as us playing, I mean, we had one test on Friday. Didn't really think we would have any more, maybe, and that's being naive to this virus. But obviously it wasn't, our decision. I think guys paid attention to it. The guys were concerned after every one, right? What would happen? Is this going to spread? So definitely guys were concerned after every time we found out about, something changing.
Kelly Sacco.
Hey, Donnie. Michael mentioned that some guys found creative ways to stay active during being quarantined. Do you know what some of the guys were doing?
I know they were trying to keep their arms moving, like they had a baseball and different ways to keep their arm moving a little bit. Guys, I hear the Zumba classes and different things, just stretching, being able to just try to move, push-ups, just things that you do to keep your body active. I know myself the same way. Honestly, trying to figure out a workout, some type of workout in the room just to keep moving. And so that's the kind of things, anything they could do to be creative to just keep their body moving. Again, it kept changing all the time. We didn't know how long. At first it was, we're going to be here till Monday, and then we're going back to Miami, and then it turned into Friday, and then it turned into Sunday. So it just kept going, and that was the hard part for guys, not having, any type of thing. They didn't know what to look forward to.
Bradford, back to you.
Hey, Don. Nice to meet you. Did you receive any, or rather, do the current protocols, since I know they're updated, did they include guidance or rules on when a team should postpone a game or cancel or, bow out?
I mean, there may be protocols in place. I don't think that's the type of thing that they're given to. Ours are more about, the social distancing, when you wear the mask, where you wear the mask, actions on the field, actions in the dugouts, actions in the clubhouse, actions at the hotel, following all, and then obviously protocols if you feel something, or if you're, how do we, you self-report every day. Before you get into a ballpark, you're taking your temperature 4 times. You're doing it in the morning when you wake up. You're doing it before you go into a ballpark. So, there are lots of things in place that are part of, doing this, but nothing that says when a game should be canceled. As far as, our concern, we had a representative, obviously, from our front office at games. We knew what happened, and from the baseball side of this, you're making decisions on what do you do that day. And if somebody says you're not playing, then you don't play, right? So I think from a baseball standpoint, it's like a guy, you wake up in the morning and he's hurt, right? And he's not going to be available. You're making adjustments on the fly, that type of thing. And then obviously all the stuff that goes on with this virus and changing quickly, it seems like it's continuing to change. Like, our talks today and our meetings today with Mike and Derek is a different set of protocols for us. right? And not just for us, but I assume the rest of the league also. But no one to say you can't play today. I think guys get ready to play. We do our best to make adjustments, knowing that we have some issues. We report those. Obviously, the league knows that. The other team knows that. And then someone makes a decision. It's not the players making a decision. It's not us making a decision as a team. I think that's above our heads who makes that decision that we will play that day or we won't.
And then
Gordon?
I didn't hear that.
Oh, I said Jordan.
Yeah, Donnie, two quick things. Do you have the rotation lined up for the series?
Well, we got Pablo tomorrow. We know that. And Ellie Iser, one of the doubleheader games. Other than that, we're TBD right now. We don't know how that's going to work out. Where it goes, it depends what happens in those other games.
Okay, and then second thing, the bullpen, that was obviously that was one of the big things you guys are trying to work on through the offseason with acquisitions, just based off of what you guys are bringing in over the last week. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of turnover there. Just can you explain the challenges on your end of basically having to figure out roles for a lot of guys on the fly, especially when you were still trying to figure out roles for the guys you originally had?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it changes things quickly with lots of issues out there. And I've always, you feel like you go into a season at least with a plan, like who's going to close the game. Like we told Kins, if we got a lead in the ninth and you're available, you're going to get the ball, right? And that doesn't mean it's only the ninth; it could be the eighth. Kind of the same thing going for Box when we started. He was a guy that late in the game, seventh, eighth, wherever it fit in there, then he'd be a guy that's part of that back end. Other than that, and that's just the start of it, right? I always feel like bullpens set their own roles, right? You'd love to be able to tell every guy exactly when they're going to pitch and how you're going to do it, and what inning, and if you're ahead or behind. But that just changes. Guys are getting outs, they get the ball. If they're not getting outs, then you're not quite as comfortable with them. So that will be a work in progress for sure. It would have been anyway. We've kind of went from a young bullpen with a lot of unknowns, guys with obviously big stuff, and some of our younger guys out of our organization, to a more experienced bullpen in a sense, guys that have more major league experience, coming on from different organizations, but more of an experienced bullpen now. But how that's going to work together, we're not quite sure.
Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, Don, first of all, obviously you made a lot of acquisitions in the last week. How much you're going to have to try to get up to speed on some of the other players in addition to the pitchers? And the second question I have is, you're going to have 7-inning doubleheaders. What are your thoughts on those? Thank you.
Yeah, getting up to speed on most of our players, it's pretty easy. We know most of the guys that are coming in. Logan is a guy that obviously I've seen play and our team's played against, but had him on a club, got obviously a lot of good reports on him and what kind of guy he is and what we think he can bring to the table. Some of the pitchers, we had one of our Smith boys last year, so we deal him a little bit. Picking up Moran is another guy that we had last year, so we know a little bit. A couple other guys we don't know as much about as far as seeing them. In the way you see players now, you're going to get reports from our analytics on the splits and lefts and rights and our matchups with those guys. Try to put those guys in good positions, right? Try to put them in the best positions where they've had success in the past. Doesn't mean they're not continuing to make adjustments. So some of the guys we know kind of through paper, through video, other guys we've seen a little bit and we have a little better knowledge of.
Barry, go ahead.
Hi, Don. A couple of things with Isan obviously opting out. Are you inclined to put Villar back at second full-time? And was going to ask you about Guzman as well. We know how hard he throws. Do you foresee him maybe being a starter over the next 2 weeks for you guys, or do you want to use him in the bullpen?
Isan, and I heard Derek say it, obviously we respect Isan and his right to make a choice for himself, his family, his whole situation. So obviously we're going to support him. Had conversations with him in Philly when we were kind of going through this, and you could see it was kind of building. So that was obviously a tough situation for him and a tough decision for a young player to make that decision. So we'll support him through that and look forward to him being back next year with us. Guzman, I think we would probably start out in a bullpen type situation, but that doesn't mean anything other than, a bullpen type situation could be starting a game for us with the doubleheaders and going to have bullpen games and possibility of using, an opener type situation, different things that we would do. So our guys are going to have to be flexible. We know he's been a starter. Some people think he can be a starter. Some people say he could be a great reliever. Well, he's going to get an opportunity to pitch, and that's the big thing. And so, we'll see what it looks like in that opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, Dave Hyde, wrap us up here.
Yeah, Don, I'm curious. The 18 guys who tested positive, they all sound like physically they're okay, mild to asymptomatic. When do you realistically expect them back? They've been quarantined now 8 days. So judging by what people say this goes through your system, they should be coming back fairly soon.
I don't think we know. We had a couple of guys that went through it before camp even started, and that seemed to be more in the 20-something day range, not 14 as a lot of people will talk about.
Okay.
Hopefully it happens faster than that. Obviously we don't get back in, I think we're on the road through the 13th or maybe the 12th, and I don't even know where our off day is. So we're not going to get back to the 13th, and that's going to be around 20 days. So again, having a guy basically be eligible again and be ready to play again are kind of two different things also.
Right.
You guys are quarantined. We feel it after a week. What's it going to be like after 2 or maybe 3? So, we'll play that by ear as we get guys back. We expect to get guys back. We just don't know when that's going to be.